We're almost there. So remember that I was explaining to you about the white and the gray matter in the nervous tissue. In here we have a fresh specimen of cerebrum, and in here you can see through this section that is made in here, you can see the outer uh, part of the brain substance, the brain tissue is darker than this deep area. So this is the gray matter and this is the white matter. I wasn't lying to you. And it looks something like this. This is an image, an illustration showing you the gray and the white matter in both the cerebrum and or the brain and the spinal cord, the two organs of the central nervous system. Now, let's look at the cerebrum first. See that the gray matter, okay, look at the gray matter is located on the surface of the brain. Deeper to that, we have white matter. And then within the white matter, we have some islands in here, again, of gray matter. Okay, so this is how the disposition of gray matter and white matter in the brain. In the spinal cord, it changes. Now, the gray matter is located centrally, and it has this butterfly shape that we will describe in about 2 chapters. And in the periphery surrounding the the gray matter, we have the white matter. Now remember, we're in the central nervous system, and in the central nervous system, we said that clusters of cell somas or bodies of the cells, they group together to form nuclei. Remember, so this, and I'm missing an A, E in there, this is a nuclei, okay? And in here, we're going to find nuclei, which are clusters of neurons grouped by function, okay? And the bundles of axons in the white, that forms the white matter in the central nervous system, they form so bundles of axons, they form tracts. Okay, so that part in here in white matter, what we're not going to find nerves within the nervous system, central nervous system, we're going to find tracts. Another thing, remember, in the gray matter, since is where we find clusters of the cell bodies of the neurons. That's what we find in here. Cell bodies of the neurons. Why? Because are the ones containing the nasal bodies, which are the ones who give the gray color to the gray matter. So all in here. So we have cell bodies, we have dendrites, and we have unmyelinated axons. On the white matters, we are just going to find the myelinated axons of these neurons. So these neurons, if they have a common function, they're going to group to form a nuclei, and these tracts, they're going to also group to form a tract. Okay, these axons, if I didn't say it. The same thing happens in the spinal cord. Now, let's look what happened now in the peripheral nervous system. In the peripheral nervous system, remember, it's all the tissue, nervous tissue there is outside the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, so in here is very little, but I'm going to put it bigger with another color, magenta, so we can see. So these clusters are, or these structures are ganglia. And if you can remember, ganglia are clusters of cell bodies in the peripheral nervous tissue. Now, these are not called nuclei, but ganglia. And we can see also ganglia in here. These are part of the autonomic nervous system. These, they look like beads. Those are ganglia of the autonomic nervous system. Now, the wires that we can see here in blue and here in yellow, and these and all of those wires in there, those are bundles of axons. So they make up the nerves of the peripheral nervous system. They don't form tracts, they form nerves. Now, how is arranged or organized the white and the gray matter in here? Say the gray matter is at the level of the ganglia and the white matter form nerves. Now, the nerves will remind you the structure of or the organization of the skeletal muscles. Now, one single axon is wrapped or is surrounded by its cell membrane, the neurolemma. And axons are, some of them are wrapped by the layer of myelin sheath. Now, one single nerve contains usually non-myelinated and myelinated axons. It happens that this one is covered or wrapped with a myelin sheath, but we can pull another one that is naked, not covered by the myelin sheath. Now, this axon with the myelin sheath is covered by a very delicate layer of areolar connective tissue that is called the endoneurium. A group of axons covered each of them by the endoneurium. So you could grab the bundle of those axons covered by another layer of connective tissue that is called, in this case, the perineurium, and then you have a fascicle. So what is a fascicle? A nerve fascicle is a bundle of axons covered, each axon by the endoneurium, and the fascicle is covered by the perineurium. If you grab several fascicles all together and you wrap it in another thicker layer of connective tissue called the epineurium, you have a nerve. And nerve, usually peripheral nerves are mixed. They carry both, they have sensory and motor axons. But there are others that are part of the cranial nerves. There are some that are only motors, only sensory. We'll describe that later. And important also that these structures, of course, need blood supply and is given by branches of capillaries and little venules that lie within the layers of connective tissue, the endoneurium, the perineurium, and the epineurium. See you in the next and last video for this chapter.